Hey everybody, just want to take a quick minute to shout out a couple things. This past weekend we did have a week of truth and reconciliation, well, a day, and I spent a little time wondering what I could do. Um, you could think, you could find stories. I also want to see if I can find a cause that I could support, and I just want this to be a day. You got to do this for more than a day. So in my description for the month of October, for every video that we post, we're going to be putting the link to Hope and Health. They are an organization, it's a soccer program for Indigenous children, specifically in Canada, in the BC area. I'm going to put the link for them there. You guys feel free to take a look at them. And if you feel so inclined to give them any type of support in any way, please do so. It's something small. There's no affiliation with them and me by any means, but I just feel like this is something little that I can do as a child of people who've immigrated here. I mean, we the Africans know we understand the duality of that also, but we can't fully understand what the Indigenous people of Canada have gone through. I mean, we can talk about like the colonization in Africa and what our parents went through, but we haven't gone through what they have gone through. So, but this is just a little thing that I think I'm going to be doing for this month. So, guys, if you feel the need to want to support it, feel free to do so. If not, it's going to be there all month. So, feel free to take a look at them. I'm just giving them a shout out because they're a great organization for what I've read so far, and definitely one that I think is doing some good work. So, give them a look if you want to and go from there. But, with that being said, oh man. Man, oh man, oh man. So, what am I supposed to do here? So, I was going to tweet about this, but I decided I wouldn't. And I wanted to kind of put some of my thoughts here. Man. So, I'm saying man a lot because, man, the NWSL report came out. And let me tell you, it is, it's heartbreaking. So if you're not aware, there was a report that was put through. It was looking at the abuse scandal that's happened in the NWSL. And it's looking at many of the players who came forward. Over many interviews took place. The report is about, 300 pages, it feels like. I got through the first 30, and there were a few things that stopped in my mind, but man, there's a bit of a correlation with me thinking about it from a Canada soccer standpoint, also just world soccer overall, on the women's side, especially in the light of what's happening with Spain and their program, how essentially 15 players have just left their program. You saw, to a lesser degree, but to that degree in Jamaica, where you saw the players essentially get band together and say, this coach here just won't do it. This isn't a player power aspect, but this is about building safe environments. And just someone tweeted this. I wish I could remember what the tweet is because I can't get to it. But and I don't want to diminish. Man, first of all, the survivors of you guys. Man, the survivors. You guys. First of all power to you for being able to speak, being in that type of an environment. I can't imagine what it is and what it was. We've read some of it, but detailing it that only gives you a visual. You can try to imagine, but man, the emotions, the things, the PTSD that can bring, man, if it really bad to the players who stepped up and spoke and kept pushing this, that you deserve all the credit, but we can't just say they deserve the credit. There's a couple things which stood out to me in what I read so far. I haven't completed it yet, but I just want to get this out because this kind of talks to me in terms of things, especially here in Canada, when it comes to what we can and what we can't do and what we should do. The genesis of all this type of behavior from coaches, you see a pattern of coaches and a pattern of abuse. You see a pattern of ignoring it from the top down. One of the things that stood out to me from the beginning was just there was a lack of framework. I think it was page 33. there's a lack of framework that's there, which kind of creates an environment with the beginning of the NWSL where instead of setting up the proper frameworks in terms of financial stability, right types of coaching, right types of players, you're left out in a situation where it's we just need to get the teams on the pitch. We need to get 8 teams out there because we owe it to these girls to have a league. And that worries me because those who don't learn from history are bound to repeat it. And I think if you look at the genesis of the league, because you're so desperate to get it going, you fail your players and you leave your league vulnerable to the same actions that you had beforehand. This worries me from the standpoint of just thinking about here in Canada trying to create an actual domestic league. Are we going to take the right steps here? One of the things I've said about creating a development league, or not even a development league, developing a domestic league for the women in Canada, is, man, I need you to build this right. Right? And when I say building it right, I mean building it with the proper structure, infrastructure things. And I've gone into debates with some people about the idea of, you're saying you want this, but what does that actually mean, right? There's an example, for example, if you look at we study marketing, some people will just come up and say, I want a marketing plan. Well, what marketing plan are you looking for? Are you looking for an integrated communication program? Are you looking for social media? Are you looking for guerrilla marketing? Are you looking for hard paper, billboards, things like that? Marketing can have so many aspects to it, but the more you talk, the more you have to get in. And that section, I mean, the abuse, the patterns of there, the fact that people who were abusing there, all those things being apart. But are you going to build yourself the right framework from the get-go? And that's a question that's sticking with me. Because those patterns of abuse, those patterns of behavior, I mean, there's questions about everything. How does it go on this far? And then even if it's like safety programs, yeah, you could have safety programs, but if you look at the state of, say, the women's gymnastics program in the States, you see that those patterns are essentially, those organizations are there, but they don't really give much value. Even here in Canada, we're looking at Hockey Canada, where it's like the more and more you're listening, the more you realize, oh, no, this isn't a thing. Like, it just came out today that apparently Hockey Canada has a second ledger based off of registration fees that are paid off abuse scandals. And I'm like, no, we can't be happy and satisfied with that. In my opinion, that entire organization needs to be reset. You people deal with that, build proper frameworks. But when it comes to a domestic league in Canada, based off of the abuse here, you read that and then you remember, oh yeah, I mean, Vancouver's a thing that happened. I know we're looking at the NWSL, but Vancouver is a thing that happened, and the people who were in charge of Vancouver are now in other spots where we're now asking ourselves, but if you were in charge of those clubs, if you were in charge of the federation, and now you've gone on and are in charge of full confederation, and you're like, wait, how is that accountability? How is that actually building a proper framework? How is that protecting the players? I've ranted on a lot of things here because it's upsetting, but like there's a degree where when you're reading it, you're like, of course this happened. It's sad. It is so sad. But you read like, of course this happened because this would happen. Of course a coach would be let go silently and then afterwards find another job at a higher level because, well, I'd hire him. Of course, internally you'd say, hey, maybe I shouldn't have brought this person on. But then externally, it's a great move for the organization. And the sad part about it is most of these coaches are the coaches that are successful. Does that mean that you can't be successful unless you are those things? No. I think at the end of the day, set the framework to protect your players. And man, just be good people. If it's happened that many times, one of the notions in this report is the idea, it's like the open secrets aspect, right? Where everyone kind of knows it's happened and we talk about it. But I mean, if we're all talking about it, it can't be that bad, right? To that degree, we've normalized it, right? That culture has normalized it, and it's not just in Canada. It's not just in soccer in the States. It's in different sports, right? It's a locker room mentality. It's the, well, are we gonna do whatever it takes to win? It's that full faith. It's without the proper guidelines, without the proper structure, the accountability there, you're leaving so many people vulnerable. And the players are the ones who are there. I wish this could be like some wake up call for me, where for all of us, where we say, man, we're gonna be so much better now. We're gonna learn from these mistakes, but there's more. Canada Soccer's going through. Name a national sports organization in Canada that doesn't have a controversy. Whether it's not play, whether it's history of abuse, whether it's scandals. We've built this. We've cultured. We've fostered this environment. And if we're not careful, if we don't resolve these properly, and more importantly, if we don't learn from these mistakes, something my dad used to tell me is a mistake is only a mistake if you learn from it. And if not, it's just a bad habit. And God knows we have plenty of those. This can't be a habitual thing. This can't just be the pattern of play of national sports organizations, national leagues. If I'm any of the organizers for a domestic league, even if I'm looking at the CPL right now, I'm asking myself, are we doing enough to protect our players? Because more than likely, the framework of the CPL is going to build a national domestic league for the women. They'll look at that and say, we want to do this, we'll build off of what they did here, or they'll say we want a different model overall. But are we learning? Are we taking into account the mistakes? Are we protecting the players? Because if we don't protect the players, we're going to be here again. And in 5-10 years, whenever this league gets going after that, we're going to be having conversations about, man, the history of abuse. If this isn't a wake-up call for our leagues, our organizations, our institutions, our clubs, to look at how we are developing, look at the people we have in charge, and ask ourselves, are these people not only healthy for the sport, but also healthy for the individuals that are there? If we're not doing that, if we haven't been doing that, we're going to be here again. And there's no point in being here again. So let's take a hard look, guys. Clubs, protect your players, protect your members, and create that environment. National sports organizations, set the framework and actually have teeth with your consequences. Make sure things don't stand. Give those. Things can't be tolerated. I don't want us to be here yet. For the players who've gone through this, I even think of the Canadians at Vancouver Whitecaps Academy, man. It's sad to think about it, but at the same time, just like the news, well, we're on to the next story, which is probably bigger and much worse than the current one. Guys, we gotta be better. Yeah, I'm done.